Experience the life-changing benefits of automated insulin delivery with the T-Slim X2 insulin pump from Tandem Diabetes Care. Snack while you meal prep, doze off on the couch, wear it fashionably or discreetly. You can do it all with the #1 rated automated insulin delivery system according to a DQ&A patient panel. Get started at tandemdiabetes.com. RX only, indicated for patients with type 1 diabetes 6 years and older. Warning, Control-IQ technology should not be used by people under age 6 or who use less than 10 units of insulin per day or who weigh less than 55 pounds. Safety info available at tandemdiabetes.com/safety-info.
This is a CNA podcast.
For people who dive or love exploring some of the most beautiful beaches in Southeast Asia, the Philippines is the place to go. The country is in the Coral Triangle. It's a breathtaking part of the planet. Its waters are teeming with marine life and rich with colourful reefs and corals, giving it its name. The Coral Triangle is complex, delicate and ancient, covering a vast area that includes the territorial waters of 6 different countries. It's also highly vulnerable to a whole range of environmental and human challenges. My name's Jack Board, CNA's Climate Change Correspondent. On this special edition of the Climate Conversations, I bring you stories of ecosystems at risk. If you haven't listened, do find my episodes on the Himalayas, Gobi Desert and Mekong Delta. This week, I'm in the Philippines to find out more about how marine ecosystems and the people who rely on them are adapting. This is Asia's Great Climate Frontiers. Apo Island is just a tiny volcanic speck off the coast of Negros in the central Visayas region of the Philippines. On this day, the sea is heavy and the sky is dark. It's the amihan season in the Philippines, the onset of the northeast monsoon, which is marked by cooler temperatures and trade winds. Beneath the surface of the sea, there is turbulence too. Soft corals sway in the strong current, and small colourful fish seek refuge as waves break on the reef. I'm snorkeling, and it's tough going. There are other underwater visitors to this marine area too, but they don't seem to mind the conditions. Green sea turtles. Unafraid of sharing their space with humans, the turtles graze in the murky shallows on a rich supply of seagrass just metres from the shoreline. Locals say there could be up to 250 of them that frequent the island's waters. It's a rare phenomenon that's boosted the fledgling economy of this fishing community. Tourists now flock to Apo to see them and the blossoming coral gardens nearby. But this was a hard-fought battle for harmony.
There
have been instances in the past that some people butchered the turtles. I can say that it was proven to be true, but that was before people were educated. Now their mindset has changed. The turtles are no longer seen as food, but as friends.
This is Romel Tabanera, a young tour guide on Apo.
The turtles are no longer afraid because they're no longer eaten. They're no longer being captured. Instead, visitors who harm the turtles get reprimanded by the locals because they take protection of the turtles seriously now. And that's lovely. We're very dependent on the environment because if there are no tourists, our livelihood here is fishing. So if our marine resources are not sustainable, then there'll be no fish for us. If we don't have turtles, corals and everything, then no tourists would come here to visit.
On the other side of the island, I see a less hopeful scene. One that's symbolic of the challenges that exist for coral-dependent islands and economies in the Philippines. This is Apo's Marine Protected Area, or MPA. It's a 74-hectare strip of reef that has special protections from human activity. There's no one here, no turtles either. Coral boulders lay strewn along the shoreline. The reef here has fallen silent. For more than a decade now, the MPA has been closed to all after it was decimated by Typhoon Sendong in 2011 and a year later by Typhoon Pablo. Dr. Rene Abesamas is one of the foremost experts on MPAs in the Philippines, and an associate professor at UP Marine Science Institute. He explains what happened.
Imagine underwater, all of that area used to be full of corals. It's in big corals. And in a few hours, that was all gone in 2011. That's because of the storm. Typhoon Sendong was the first one. And almost exactly a year later, Typhoon Pablo. It's a catastrophic damage on the sanctuary. It's as if somebody bulldozed the whole area. So just imagine that. 30 years of protection and then gone in a few hours because of two typhoons that happened. What used to be a thriving ecosystem with lots of fish suddenly become this desert environment. Some people think that by protecting these places from human impacts, like the use of marine protected areas, you will at least boost the resilience. There is some truth to that because a healthier system could probably withstand a catastrophic impact better. That's a theory, at least.
When this marine protected area was formalised back in 1986, it was a landmark conservation moment. At that time, it was only the second of its kind in the Philippines. Since then, it's been replicated some 1,600 times across the country, and even in Indonesia. Getting to that point was difficult and controversial. Designating a reef area that local fisherfolk depended on as a no-catch zone was unpopular. It was also necessary. Some of them used dynamite and cyanide. It was taking an unsustainable toll on the reef. I spoke with Apo Island Barangay Captain Mario Pascobello, a self-proclaimed culprit turned champion of the MPA.
In the old days, nobody cares what happened after you fish until people get aware that what you're doing is destructive to the reef. And that's the time that people start to realize that reef is important for the fish. We thought that what we're doing is just normal, and we just realized that what we're doing is wrong. And I was involved on this destructive fishing. I was involved specifically on dynamite fishing, muruami, even poisoning. After so many years that fishermen here is doing this bad practice or way of fishing until such time that there's almost no fish to catch. So we have to go somewhere else, move a little bit farther to catch some fish.
The recovery of coral reefs takes decades. The Apo community and others like it need to remain patient and wait for benefits to return. But their patience may be no match for the more intense and unpredictable typhoons that are constantly on the horizon in the Philippines. About a quarter of the world's typhoons hit the country each year, and due to climate change, more are expected to move along new paths and hit areas unaccustomed to powerful storms. On top of that, the Coral Triangle is also highly vulnerable to global sea temperature warming, ocean acidification, and rising sea levels. An El Niño weather pattern is forecast for later this year. That will likely bring warmer water conditions that can result in marine heat waves and worsen coral bleaching events. On Apo, 40 years of good work hangs in the balance, thanks to a crisis its people didn't cause and cannot control. My final destination is Palawan, sometimes called the Philippines' last frontier. It's wild and it's picturesque. On a small island is the traditional fishing village of Depla. Its leader is 37-year-old Dante Jabello Jr. He's pushing for a marine protected area to be set up around the nearby fishing grounds.
Malaki po yung pinagbago ng ano.
A lot of things have changed. Before, we were able to catch fish even on the outskirts of the ocean. We only bring back and sell high-quality fish. Now, we have no choice but to bring home all of our catch, even if it's not good, just so that we can have something to eat. The corals in this area have already been destroyed. They said it would take years before we could bring back the old state of the sea. The corals all look dead. We can't help but think that destructive activities like illegal fishing are the cause of the thinning population of fish in this area. We think that having a sanctuary will help bring back the time when we would have an abundant catch. There are many marine species, beautiful ones, that are long gone. I can't blame some of my colleagues because I was once skeptical over the sanctuary myself. We saw it as a threat to our livelihood. After hearing the importance of the sanctuary, I immediately campaigned for it because I want to leave something behind when the new generation takes over. I want to make my fellow men realize that we need to leave something for our children should they fail to finish school. How will they be able to survive if we lose our marine resources? There are still some who are apprehensive. I just tell them that it will take years before we feel the effects of the rehabilitation. Everything we destroyed in an instant will take a long time to heal. I think man destroyed the environment, and we are paying for it.
Dante has a rare special skill among fishermen and seaweed farmers in this area. He can scuba dive. With support and training from Sulabai Environmental Foundation, he hopes to be a guardian of the future sanctuary. Sulabai is trying to bridge the gap between local knowledge and science to equip locals like Dante with the tools they need to adapt to a fast-changing world. It's already helped establish 4 MPAs in the local region of Shark Fin Bay, a number that could grow to 10 by 2025. Sulabai's base is on the nearby private island of Pangatalan. All around it, artificial reefs have been installed to bring life back to the degraded local waters. The island's become an incubator for innovative ocean research, and there's a constant buzz of activity when I visit. I sat down with its founder and president, Fred Tardieu, to learn why he left France to change things here in his new home.
I think Palawan is one of the last white part of the world. We decide to restore the ocean when we realize all the damage by dynamite fishing, cyanide fishing. And the first decision is to restore the coral because it's like the forest in the sea. After the coral, we decide to engage the population by the small marine protected area. We decide to start our private MPA with the authorization by the law, and the result is incredible. After 3 years, different species come, the size of the fish is become incredible, the quantity, the result is incredible.
Fred tells me that the foundation shares their knowledge with the wider scientific community. And while he's concerned about the effects of climate change, he remains optimistic humanity can turn things around.
Also, Pangatalan is a part of science, and we give this information for the rest of the world. We take the temperature, the sea temperature every day since like 8 years. The wave is more and more strong every year. The temperature is growing, and I'm afraid about this situation, but the power is only in my hand. Humans have the power to destroy, but humans also have the power to give some help to the nature.
Experts agree that the outlook for the survival of corals around the world is sadly bleak. Within decades, the coral triangle may not resemble how it looks today. It's clear to me that island communities will be central to scaling up marine protection efforts, but they can't be left to do it alone. And places like Apo and Pangatalan are already showing us the way. This has been Jack Board. Thank you for listening to this special episode of the Climate Conversations. The team behind this podcast are Crispina Robert, Jacqueline Chan, Sai Ye Win, Joanne Chan, and Tiffany Ang.